Welcome to Bear Lifestyle, the podcast where we speak up and speak out about all taboo topics and make them normal and acceptable. You are invited to be curious, to try something new, and stay open to provocative perspectives. I'm your host, Simona Spark, a best-selling author, international speaker, transformational coach, and so many other things. Beyond anything else, I'm a woman who stopped following other people's rules and started creating my own. In this space, we are going to get naked by stripping away insecurities, self-judgments, and all kinds of limitations so we can reach in for the essence of who we really are bare. Beautiful, authentic, real, and ever evolving. Thanks for listening. Welcome everyone. If you're here for the first time, welcome. I'm so happy to meet you. And if you've been here before, welcome back. Let's celebrate you, me, and our amazing guest, Kenni King. Woo! Celebrating everyone.
Celebration.
Oh God, if we could only learn one thing and one thing only, and I know I said that at least 100 times, to just celebrate ourselves. So in order to get there, as you already know in each and every episode, I just want to open different doors to get in, to pull out our bare essence, who we really are and how to show up in the world bare. Beautiful. What A stands for? Authentic, real, and ever evolving. So today I am so excited and it's so exciting to have this conversation with, first of all, my bestie Kenni, and also what you need to know about her. Open the description, we'll take you to her website, we'll give you all the information about her and her work. And please follow her on Instagram and Facebook and all social media. But Kenni here, she is a success coach, a strategist, and she's showing up every day to support women, and not only, into creating the life that they want. So the reason that I invite space is because she is a woman who healed her multiple layers of trauma around sex and sexuality. And now, from that place of transformation and healing, she's here to support other women to do the same. And I am so grateful for that. And I'm so grateful to be in your life and to have you in my life. So welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here and I'm so happy to chat with you and just experience all these conversations around what it is to be bare, to be a bare woman, to be laid bare, and to allow that authenticity to come forward and the healing to occur so that we can accomplish what we deserve, what we desire, and everything that we really want to bring forward in creating a magnificent life.
Ah, so good. So as we have zillions of topics that we already talk about for the past few years since we met, today, let's dive into desire. How that sounds like.
And that sounds beautiful. That sounds really beautiful. You know, I think when we're talking about desire, even for some women especially, even the word itself can make us squirm in our seats a little if we're not comfortable with it, right? Like, I will never forget the moment, it's so funny because this happened in very close succession, but the very first time a counselor asked me, well, what do you want? Or what do you need? And then the very first time a coach asked me, what do you want? And I got angry at the question. Like my body actually was annoyed. I thought, first of all, that's a dumb question. Don't we all want the same thing? Right? But secondly, there was this discomfort around having to, almost like this obligation or responsibility to know and name what I wanted. And that to me, it was so interesting because one, it was a natural reaction at the time, but I also just assumed that being annoyed and frustrated when somebody says, what do you want? Or what do you need? And actually saying that out loud, that it felt like, wouldn't everybody get as annoyed at this question? And so I had to really do some digging to discover, like, why am I so angry when somebody asked me what I want? All the way down to, and I'm sure anybody listening will, if you haven't felt this yourself, you at least know somebody who has, when like the question of, well, what do you want for dinner? And the annoyance that comes with trying, like being the person responsible for selecting a place for dinner, whether it's just you and a partner, you and a friend, or maybe you and a group of people, this weight of responsibility. Have you ever felt that?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I do want to add to that. There is a very hidden layer when it's kind of like what we are talking here, like sexuality and sexual trauma and all that, and personal intimate desires that we have, and to acknowledge like the heaviness that's attached to it based on all we've been conditioned for generation and generation, especially us women, of having so much shame attached to our more personal, intimate desires, as if I want to experience pleasure, that is something shameful.
Yes, yes. And I think it, for me to really understand where this came from, it started from that surface level of the question, what do you want? Like, right, there's a surface level, and that surface level is always a mirror for those deeper levels. And it wasn't until I was really on that healing journey and I had this question for myself, and it was such a shameful acknowledgement for me personally, where I started to realize, due to, of course, there was sexual trauma, there was trauma with parents and how I grew up and how I was raised, and just, I came from a very unstable childhood. And the layers to that can be so confusing. And so one thing that I want to make clear is sometimes we don't think we have this trauma if we haven't been sexually traumatized purposely by an outside person, right? So this same wound can occur when we've experienced any level of abandonment, rejection. This is where this comes from. A lot of times we think it only comes from rape or molestation, and absolutely there's this too. That layer is there. But for anybody who's listening, who's like, well, I wasn't actually sexually assaulted, or because most people have been in some way, verbally, physically, emotionally, in some way, most women have been, most humans have been. We just don't always know to like acknowledge it. But let's even take that and put it aside. Any sense of rejection, abandonment can result in this like fear of speaking our desire, owning our desire, fear of claiming our desire physically, sexually, intimately, because we're afraid of rejection. We're afraid of looking silly. We're afraid of the fact that we even have desire in the first place, and it holds us back, right? So we want to like soften or let somebody else initiate. And it is such a beautiful thing to be pursued, right? Like many of us have the desire to be pursued and for somebody else to instigate. But where I really found this was When it was a stranger, when it was an emotionally unavailable partner, this saucy, sexy vixen seductress would come out in me. There was this playful, fun, exciting, like cat and mouse game per se, right? Like that seductive.
Oh, yes.
And we all have it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have it. It's up to us if we awaken that part of us or not. And I really appreciate you sharing that. It's such a profound paradox of feeling safe with a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
let's dive into that, because I choose to believe there is a lot of people in our audience and our viewers that might have this little behavior. And generally what we do, women, we run into a corner and we blame ourselves for having those desires and those thoughts and those behaviors. So let's clean up a little bit around that, please.
Yes. So for me, what I started to notice is in that place, my body that had carried all these baggage and years of wounds, sexual trauma, emotional trauma, rejection, abandonment, all of these layered wounds. It's almost interesting, like saying this out loud, but felt safer when it was a stranger or an emotionally unavailable partner, because it was almost like there was nothing to lose, almost like they couldn't reject me. I wasn't emotionally connected and invested with them to such a degree that if they turned from me, it would hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it was so interesting to see the other side of it, because when I was in a committed, loving, healthy relationship, that saucy little vixen that would instigate and initiate and seduce, all of a sudden it was like her fire went out and she was quieter and she wanted to hold herself back and she was afraid or ashamed.
That's it. That piece that's actually part of us, where I like that you say like emotionally invested, is like, what if I get to show all of me there,
Mhm.
and I end up in a place that I used to be most of my life, rejected, not accepted, not loved. And
Mhm.
the question is, what to do with that? How did you come out of it? What was your process of healing? And look, we already established healing is forever and ever evolving. And
Mhm.
but
Yes.
but just to, as you say, scratching the surface, to just give to the person, audience that might find themselves in that space, is like, what was the thing that I could do now? How can I open that door now? What's available for me now?
Step one is true, full self-acceptance.
Mm.
A lot of where my shame resided was, one, I was told and conditioned to believe that women who were comfortable in their sexuality and sensuality in their bodies, maybe they showed off their bodies, or maybe they were, what is that word that they like to use back, like to use, promiscuous,
Mhm.
like a healthy sexually active woman with a healthy sexual appetite
Mhm.
would be labeled quickly like promiscuous, or a whole lot of other names that we're just not going to bring into the space. Yes, like just that. And so for me, because I used sex as a way, it was like a drug for me at a time when I was trying to find a way to heal. I turned to physical connection with another human. Being tangled up with another human helped me not feel all the pain. That, it helped me run from it. Just like some people use food, some people use alcohol, some people use drugs. We use all these different things, right? And I did use food as well. So it was food and it was other human bodies. I held so much shame around that because in my brain I thought, what kind of person does that? Like, what kind of person uses somebody else, even though she's not actually invested in a relationship with them? What kind of person, you know, and I had all of these accusations towards myself.
Yeah.
And I needed to take a moment to acknowledge that everything I'd done up until the point that I really decided to heal this part of me, to heal emotionally, sexually, and to let myself be loved physically, emotionally, physically, whether I was in a relationship or not. This isn't about being necessarily in a committed relationship. This is about being in a committed relationship with ourselves and our bodies.
It's about our own relationship with ourselves.
Yes. And so,
regardless if we are in a relationship with other people or not, that's what the focus is here. Yes. Thank you for clarifying that.
Absolutely. And so for me, it was self-acceptance. Can I look at my behavior, all of it, with a neutral perspective, honor that I was doing whatever I could to meet my needs, that I was never, I like to use this analogy a lot when I'm thinking of healing, like when I'm thinking of, okay, I had a lot of healing to do with, you know, the things that my parents did, chose or chose not to do in terms of taking care of me, or past relationships. And I would ask myself, and this works with anybody, like, was that person sitting around having a glass of wine, just asking themselves, how can I fuck Kenni up today? How can I just destroy her? How can I rob her? How can I, right? Like most people aren't sitting around trying to figure out how they can destroy you beyond repair.
Yeah.
So
thank you for that. I've been it's just triggering the idea of healing looks different from person to person, and all we could do here is share what has been our experience. So then there is the pieces that people resonate with, those pieces, at least to give them some comfort, like, hey, you're not alone on this journey, but your journey is yours, your speed is yours. It's gonna take as long as it's gonna take. But that idea of where am I in a relationship with myself now that I'm talking from my experience, now that I'm in my third marriage, now that I'm after my third divorce, and all the judgments that I have about others, how they might judge me, until I recognize that that was the judgment that I put on myself first. So that self-acceptance, I think that's the biggest and the hardest part of this work, really. How to accept myself. And for those of you that read my book, and I keep talking about it, this woman, Kenni, she was the one that was here visiting me when I just wake up with this memory of a deepest trauma. And I cannot, to this day, and I did my best to put in the words in my book, but till this day, the level of judgment I have about myself, I never judge anybody that deep and that ugly. That deep and that ugly. And then coming out of it and allowing myself to experience sex with multiple people with no attachment, I dive into that like, oh, I'm the one that I'm not emotional available. And guess what? I judge myself again that I'm not emotional available. And then pulling myself into the space of like, okay, I am emotional available. And that doesn't mean that I thought that when you're emotional available, you commit to a one person only. And I'm like, but actually, I don't want to do that. So I get to be emotional available and have different experiences with different people. Yes. And that for me, it's a new space. Yes. And it's also coming with the judgment of, am I a whore? Because that's what I learned about that behavior. Oh my God, what my exes will say about this. Because I am on media and I'm talking about it. Oh my God, what my child will say about this. And then to step back and say, wait a minute, this is my life, this is my decision. And am I accepting myself in this space that I don't need somebody else's to approve of it.
Right. And I love how you said, I am emotionally available, because that is the key. Like, am I emotionally available for myself? Am I supporting and loving myself? Am I giving myself permission to have desire and to allow myself to have desire and to have pleasure and to surrender to my pleasures, my desires, to ask for what I want, to know what I want, to be respectful of other people's desires, right? Like, we all have different desires. And a step two, because some people are waking up in a committed relationship and realizing, I've never asked for my desires, and now I'm embarrassed to, or now I feel shame, or I feel, you know, and I really think, and this is not something I've mastered perfectly. This is something I'm on a journey on too, right? We're always growing, we're always evolving. And I think that first step is allowing that emotional side to open, like letting ourselves speak to our partners about, you know, what we want, about what, you know, and if we don't even know yet, speak to our partners about the journey if we're in a partnership. Because it's so interesting, because we think a lot of times, this is my best friend. Like, my husband is my best friend. I can, like, he sees me in all the shades and all the ugly and all the pretty and all the, right? Like, and so if there's anybody in the world that I can trust my shame with, it's him.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that he knows everything that you want and you desire.
Exactly. But if I can,
that's the part that we are forgetting, or we are assuming, like, you know me, you should know, like, you're my best friend, you should know where I'm at.
And that comes back to that being annoyed at being asked.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I never wanted the responsibility of sharing what I wanted. And so a lot of times we can actually be really unfair to our partners, because we expect them sometimes to be mind readers. And if they are not mind readers, then we're frustrated at that too, right?
Yeah.
And it's so interesting, because when I started asking myself the question, like, one, thank goodness there aren't a bunch of mind readers walking next to me throughout the day, because I wouldn't want that. I cherish that privacy.
Yes.
So if I want to honor and cherish and have gratitude for the privacy, then let's cherish and honor and have gratitude for the fact that we have the right for self-advocacy, to speak up for what we want. And here's the best part: if you're listening and you don't know, that's not a bad thing. It's an invitation for exploration.
Yes, and with that, I just want to raise my glass of berries water. What are you drinking, honey?
It's a peach tea.
Peach tea. Let's chin chin. I want to celebrate you that you're here, all in viewers and in the audience, to acknowledge the fact that you are here. That let us know that you've been searching for some answers. That let us know that you opened the door to, this is where I'm at, and I might not be 100% where I'm at. Let me find some answers. Let me search for this podcast. Let me Google the thing. So you already started the work. So I congratulate you.
Congratulations.
Sorry to interrupt you, Kenny, but it's just, it needed to be said. Because I'm drawn into a conversation with you, as we always are, and I'm like, wait, there is an audience here. that they land here because they wanted answers and they want to do the work.
Yes, and it's such a celebration of exactly what we're talking about, which is self-advocacy, right? Like that desire to remove the layers that aren't working, and get what we want. We deserve to have what we want. And sometimes we've been conditioned to believe that if we want anything more than what we have, we're ungrateful. And that's what I was told over and over and over. If I wanted more than food, a roof over my head, and water, I was an ungrateful child, is actually how it was told to me, because I wanted somebody to help me with my homework. You know, just, and so it's like those, again, those surface level, how comfortable are we just saying what we want, whether it's what we want for dinner, what movie we want to watch, like, and that would possibly be step 3, because that's going to give us, that gives us clues to how comfortable we are for asking for what we want.
Yeah.
And
it's magic. It's magic. That contraction, they're like, I can't believe I said that. That's the magic right there. That's the door that opens for you to go in. And how can I make myself feel comfortable when I say this next time? What's the shame attached to it? What's the real fear? I mean, I dare to say the damn thing out loud, but yeah, I was like all sweaty. So that's the work, and it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I love how you took us from outside and just like deeper in. And now on a step 3, are more steps here? Tell me.
So one that is so important is to just truly honor the way that you can communicate, no matter what that looks like. You may not be ready to voice out loud in the middle of intimacy exactly what, like, touch me here, kiss me there, do you know, like, you may not be ready for that. That's okay. So when you're beginning the conversation, there are so many mediums and formats you can use to ease and baby step your way in. Whether this is surface level, like what I want for dinner, what kind of movie I want to watch, speaking your truth and asking for what you want there, definitely practice there. But when we're talking about intimacy, there's like all these layers, right? Where your face might turn red, or it might get stuck in your throat and you want to say this thing. So I really want to encourage you, if you're in the middle of intimacy and you notice it and you just can't get the thing to come out of your mouth, right? Like, oh, that sounded really dirty.
For the lack of the better word. Yeah, our brains both were like ding, ding, ding.
So if you can't find a way to say it, that's okay. After the fact, that's a beautiful opportunity to talk with your partner about it. If talking is really challenging, write it down. There's a lost art of letter writing. You can write to yourself, you can write to your partner, you can journal it out. You can journal it out and share your journal with your partner and have them read it. You can email your partner if that feels best. You can text. In fact, some people are more comfortable in spicy text messages, and then they let everything just be physical and sensual. So when you're in intimacy, like during intimacy and during sex, let your vocals be nonverbal if that's more comfortable. And the one word I want you to let yourself actually use is yes. Because if something's happening that you're loving and you say yes, one, there's an energetic with the word yes, right? Like when we say yes, and those of you listening, just, if you can, just say yes out loud, like an emphatic, like yes. Like let your like
so empowering.
It's empowering. Like you can feel, and even just say no out loud. There's a different energetic in your body. Our words are so powerful. So yes can be a word that you can use. You can create nonverbal cues between yourself and your partner that you can grab a hand and move the hand where you want the hand. These are nonverbal ways of communicating that may be easier than just like blurting it out. Sometimes we need to warm up, right? Before we can get to that point with our partner, and that's okay. And bringing our partner into the conversation prior to things actually, being in the middle of it, being all turned on and in foreplay, or, like wherever you are, let your partner know. There was a big difference for me when I was able to verbalize finally to my husband, like, I love you so much. I feel safer with you than I felt with anyone in my life. For some reason, the wires in my brain were crossed due to some trauma, due to some previous coding, where situations that some people would deem unsafe, like a stranger on an airplane or whatever, situations that unsafe for my body or my soul, or opening up, this sexual container with, for me, because of non-attachment, that felt safer. And now in a loving, healthy relationship, there's like almost a block there, and it's harder for me to initiate. It's harder for me to communicate what I want. It's harder for me to, tell you my desires. It's hard, and this is more challenging for me, but it helped him see that it wasn't, we're in this relationship, and because now we're comfortable, I'm no longer attracted to you and I no longer want you. A lot of times we assume the flame has gone out, and that was not true for my relationship. What had actually happened was for me, safety, and this is the same for most trauma survivors in just different capacities, safety for me was unsafe. Chaos, drama, trauma, pain was safe. I knew pain is like love was pain in that previous life of mine. And love being freedom and communication and connection and trust, and the wires were a little crossed. And once I was able to share that with him, it was so much easier for us to just have conversations about it, and for us to find ways to meet each other there.
Yes, 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 yes is the word. Yes to desires. And for those of you that land here for the first time, please go back to the previous episode as well. We talk about this concept that Kenni brought in the conversation, and just to have an understanding and acceptance for yourself. If you are someone who, and I speak from my own experience, and I help clients through the same space, that being used with, the body is being used with abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, when all the things, when those are healed and nobody is traumatizing you anymore. For me and many others that I know, the first phase was I self-abuse, because it's all I knew. So those cross wires, like they're like right there, like, wait a minute, why am I keep hurting myself now that nobody's hurting me? Because it's all I knew. So I need to shift my focus on like, oh wait, there is another way of doing life. And actually I get to experience pleasure. So of course there's so many layers attached to it, but just to be gentle with yourself.
Yes, because I'm so glad you brought that up into light and brought it forward, because as I was saying, part of my actions were self-medicating. However, it was also very self-abusive. And so like, there's a difference between a healthy sexual being who's enjoying pleasure, unafraid of what they desire, and they still respect themselves physically, emotionally, mentally, in all of those ways. And then there's this other, which was more me, where it was escapism, self-medication, and self-abuse. And it's different. And so for me, I had to look at that. And that's where a lot of the shame came from, because there was an avenue of forgiveness I needed to walk down, which was after being so hurt, abused, neglected, rejected, physically, sexually, emotionally, in all the different ways by all the different people. Then when I woke up to my own self-abuse, there was this just weight of shame there too.
Yeah.
And again, it comes back to that self-acceptance, because I needed to honor and forgive and recognize that I was doing the best I could with the tools I had at the time to meet my needs.
Yes.
Now I'm expanding my toolkit.
Mm-hmm. And that's it. That's it right there. We could only do what we could do with what we know and what we have. So in order to move in a different space, we need to bring new knowing, new having, new tools, new perspective, and we cannot get it from ourselves because we are right here in this space. That's why I cannot encourage enough, like mentorship and spiritual guides and coaches and therapists and even expanding the people in our life, like friendships, new people, like that yes, we connect because we have the same core values, but they bring a new perspective in our life. So it's enriching our perspective, and when we enrich our perspectives, then we get to reach for more and for different and for our own expansion. And how beautiful is that? Because there's no limits. We are here to be happy and to enjoy life and to experience pleasure and joy. And it's good to feel good. It's nothing bad about feeling good. For the first 4 decades of my life, I feel bad by feeling good. Like how fucked up that is.
Right.
Look, we come to a closing. I don't want to close. So because I don't want to close, I won't. So I will invite you to close this episode.
Okay. Well, the final thing that I think is so important for everyone listening, wherever you are on your journey, whether you've healed, so much or if you're at the very beginning of healing, it doesn't matter where you are, there's still somewhere to go. So let this be a playful exploration. Book a sexy boudoir photo shoot. Buy yourself clothing that feels good on your skin. It can be lingerie, but it can also just be any fabric that feels good. Eat foods that just make you go, just let yourself have those little extras. If you love sparkling water, but it's so much better with a little, lime juice, lemon juice, like our sensual experience it covers all of our senses. So play with whatever feels really good. Books that turn you on, or sexy TV shows, or just let yourself play and explore by yourself, with a partner, wherever you are. Like it doesn't matter. And if you are with a partner, I still encourage you solo too. Like explore your sensuality, let it expand, explore deeper pleasure in all ways: sight, sound, taste, touch. Let yourself create a sensual life so that you get so deeply connected to your desires. It becomes easier and easier to go, why, yes, I would like this. I'd like this, please. And ask for what you want. And let yourself be fulfilled with joy and abundance and pleasure, and have this sensual experience of life. And even just having conversations like this with people that you trust. If you could see some of this or hear some of the conversations Simona and I have had, it's amazing to have someone that you can speak with. So I'm so glad that you were here with us, and I encourage you to continue listening to all of the Bear podcast episodes, because I know that they're so enriching, and they'll help you continue to bear it all and love yourself unapologetically.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful way to close this. And again, please open the description and follow this amazing woman and look into the work that she does. And thank you for being here. I'm celebrating everyone. Cling, cling, cling. Thank you for tuning in today. I would love to hear from you. What inspired you? What triggered you? And what interests you? Please join the conversation by leaving your comments and your insights. Explore more about Bear Experience at simonaspark.com/bear. I hope you listen, follow, rate, and review all of our episodes. I can't wait to have you back. Till then, be bare, beautiful, authentic, real, and ever evolving.